That's not working. Trade. Kind of problem. Do you ever feel like your clicker's not working? Because I do. There we go. Do you ever feel like Google's gaslighting you? It's sitting there saying, hey babe, I'm a search engine, I work in search, partner with me, optimize for me, and I'm going to make you famous. But then you find out that your clicker's still not working. That they're sending these messages to other girls, that they're sending emails around. It's all alerting you that there's something sus going on. And then you realize, it's all gone black, end of the speech. Then you realize that they've got all of these side hustles. You know, they're working in news, they're working in shopping, they're working in maps as a navigator. Sure, this will work in a moment. They've got content creation. They're doing a lot of images. They think they're like a really good photographer when they're really not. Here we go. There we go. Local guide, a news anchor, and we've got a huge delay. Help AV guys, and they're a travel agent, and they're a photographer, and they're a content creator. And the reality is that with all of this stuff going on, is it any wonder why you're not their number one? If Google has a choice between you and them, they are always going to choose them. Thank you very much. And now Google's wandered into the room and they're like, hey babe, I'm in my Gemini era. And you're like, well, what does this mean for our relationship? But the reality is, you're not in a relationship. If you are optimizing only for Google search, you are in a situationship. It's casual, it's undefined, there's no real commitments. At the end of the day, the guarantee in such a situation is that you are going to get fucked. You need to focus on what Google really desires, the things that they don't tell you in their documentation. What does Google really want from a partner? Now, the base foundation of what they want has never changed. They've said, offer up quality content in a way that their algorithms can understand. But what has changed are those algorithms, because now we've moved toward Gemini. Now, the base foundation is exactly the same. Google still understands our content based on text and based on key HTML tags. So it's looking at things like the title tag and the H1 and the description and the images and the video tags and structured data. But previous algorithms relied very heavily on structured data. And this was always problematic because it can only describe a small portion of the actual content. This predefined schema in schema.org for many instances is not enough. So let's take a look at an article. With schema, I can mark up the category, the title, the publication date, the feature image. But when it comes to actually describing the main content, the whole purpose of this page's existence, I can do one about tag and maybe a couple of mentions tags and assign those to a single thing, their entity, if that entity exists. And this is all that I can do. It's not really that descriptive. When it comes to a product, sure, I can mark up the H1, I can mark up the image, I can tell it about the color or the brand or the price. But what I cannot mark up is any of the actual features users care about. So if I'm buying headphones, before I care about the price of the thing, I want to know, is this noise canceling? What type of microphone does it have? Those detailed attributes are not something that you can mark up in schema.org. And to implement this, it's all rather convoluted. So I have to say the product is on offer and it has these aggregate ratings which are based on this set of reviews. Now, this is not to say it's not worth the effort. This is not to say that it's not valuable. Because when we use a graph-based approach to schema, you can disambiguate complex relationships between entities. So you can say this product is on this web page, which is part of this website, which is published by this organization. That relationship between these things is critical for you to establish brand level EEAT and for you to establish that brand as an entity in the Google Knowledge Graph. Moreover, rich snippets and featured snippets and verticalized surfaces, many of these still require structured data. So if you want to get visibility on these surfaces, then you need to have that in place. But I would argue that schema, structured data, this was training data for Google's LLMs. And we've moved past the point where they need training data because we're no longer doing supervised learning. Gemini is based on unsupervised learning. So it can learn by itself without the need for these structured data attributes. Now, I want to communicate the seismic shift this has in its understanding of your content. Unfortunately, I don't have a master's in my AI, but my friend Tom Anthony does, so I'm going to steal his example of how he communicates this. This is schema.org. It can disambiguate approximately 1,400 entities. It's represented on this slide by a single pixel. This is Gemini, which is guesstimated to have 175 billion parameters. This is the difference in Google's understanding of your content. Now, Gemini is a GPT-based, natively multimodal model. This means that it can extract context from all different types of elements. It could be text, video, audio, or code. It doesn't matter. Gemini can process it. And as Gemini goes through and extracts those entities, it can assign attributes to those entities, and it can infer complex relationships, all without you having to specifically state it, because it's drawing on its own knowledge graph. Maybe think, well, this is all very interesting, this AI lesson that we're getting, but what does that actually mean for me? Why should I, as an SEO, care? Well, you need to care because this fundamentally changes user behavior and surface preferences. Say I want to rent a furnished 2-bedroom apartment that allows dogs, which has a view of the beach in Sydney's eastern suburbs, and I want all of that for under $1,000. Now, what I have been trained for 25 years to do is to restrict all of that explicit context, remove it, and search with 2 to 5 keywords. So I type into Google, 2-bedroom apartment for rent, Bondi. And then I'm going to get a list of results, more often than not category pages, and I'm going to go to those category pages, and I'm going to try to filter down to what I actually want. But the problem is the websites aren't very good at that. They don't have those features. They don't have those filters. And even the ones I can apply, I get 3 results. And this is friction. This is frustration. This is what Gemini will solve. Because Google is starting to retrain users how to interact with the internet. They're saying, give me all of your explicit context. They want that full, complex, context-rich search query in Gemini. Or they say, sure, start off with your 2 to 5 keywords, but then refine that, give me more information. I'm going to train you to do that with the conversational mode in SGE. Or I'm going to train you to write longer search queries by showing you, click the filter bubble, and it adds it into the search bar. You can search these long queries, look at what you can do. It's teaching you, actually, you don't even need to search. You can come onto my verticalized surfaces, and on vertical surfaces, the primary interaction model is not search. It is click-based navigation. Navigate me like you navigate a website, but I am better. What you can also do is don't worry about text at all. Do visual searches. Do multimodal searches. That's fine. I can handle it. I am Gemini. Or actually, just don't search at all. How about I proactively deliver to you exactly what you want when you want it, because I control your homepage on your browser with Google Discover. And Google Discover can be really good at understanding what a user wants. Not only because they proactively share their preferences. So I can tell you the news sources that I'm interested in, the brands I'm interested in, all of my interests. What I also know as Google is what you do on Chrome, everything you do in Gmail, what you do in Calendar. I have your Maps location. I've got your Google Home. I've got what you've downloaded from the Play Store. Google right now is tracking exactly how I'm feeling because I'm wearing a Fitbit. It has all of my health information. Google knows you, intimately knows you. And now, Gemini is being put into Google Assistant. And this takes their ability to satisfy your personal, individual needs to a whole new level. Because it has significantly more implicit context. So if I tell Google, hey, go and buy me new jeans, it understands from my purchase history, from my browsing behavior, from all of those signals that it has that I prefer high-end luxury brands. It's never going to go show me Shine. It's never going to show me ASOS. It's going to show me J. Crew. It can also become proactive. So it's going to know it maintains historical context that I haven't had a haircut in 6 months. So it's going to say, hey, do you want me to go and make you a hair appointment? And look, here are the styles that are currently in fashion for you to go and browse. It could get even creepier if you install agents. So say I have a personal trainer agent that I've installed into my Gemini personal app. What it's going to then be able to do is say, okay, what are your fitness goals? Actually, I know them already. I have it from your Fitbit app. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to customize a eating plan and a training plan specifically for you that is going to include sending you videos of how to do certain workouts. It's going to send you articles on how to run faster. It's going to have recipe ideas. And all of this will be proactively delivered just before you need it through the Gemini app. This fundamentally changes SEO and what we all need to do. If your primary SEO strategy, if most of your traffic comes from ranking for head-match keywords in Google search, you are nothing but Google's side chick, and you will be very conveniently thrown away when they have a better option. And frankly, the better option than your category page is them. They can serve themselves often better than you can serve them. They're going to deliver a better user experience, the end users. They're looking for that loyalty. They don't care about some side chick and if they get upset. What Google is looking for is not some thing, content, single-faceted girl who gets in constant arguments with them about who has a better category navigation. What they want is a girl who is deep, who has EEAT, who can sit there and say, look at all my products, look at all my articles, look at all my valuable content, and keep them entertained and engaged. This is what matters in the Gemini era, this age of the category page that has come to an end. We are looking for optimization of deep content, your products, your articles, your videos. These become key to visibility in a Gemini world. So how do you optimize for that? Let's talk first about product enrichment. So here I have a gym bag, and if I'm optimizing for traditional SEO, I would say, here's the title, here's the image, maybe here's the price, I'm going to look at my URL, I'm going to look at my page title. This is fundamentals, and you still need it, but it is not enough. What Google's looking for is new, valuable information, and if all you're doing is those SEO basics, well, hundreds of other sites are doing the exact same thing. You're not special. So we have to research what are relevant attributes that we can add on top of those base foundations in order to be attractive to Google. How do you do this research? Not with keywords. Shocking, I know. So we're first going to go into the Google documentation and understand, well, what does Google say that they want out of a relationship with your products? And we're going to add all of that information. So things like the SKU and the availability, and if it's free shipping, and the color and the material and the size. This makes you base competitive, right? You're at the minimum now that Google might look your way. Let's take this to the next level. We're going to really understand what they're looking for in a partner. And they tell us these things. We have filter bubbles for that query, which says, here are all the attributes that I'm looking for. We have left-hand navigation coming through in many searches nowadays. Use your VPNs and look at the American SERPs. That's going to give you the most up-to-date experiences. You can look through all of the long-tail autocomplete queries, things like women's small gym bag with shoe compartment. We're starting to see Google's users go into a much more long-tail experience. Ask SGE. Go into conversational mode. What does it say in terms of the responses that it's giving you? What does it say in terms of filter bubble next steps? And of course, just go and ask Gemini directly, because it will happily tell you what are important attributes to it in a product page. Then go and look at your competitors and go and look at industry best leaders. Not because you're going to go and copy them, but because you want to understand that the attribute list that you've come together with will be competitive against what they're offering, so you show more to them, more to Google than they do. And lastly, if you really just can't shake the habit, sure, go and look at your keyword research tool. But in reality, we're entering a world where queryless search is significantly common, where conversational search, meaning the search query is how much in black, that's not really going to allow you to understand anything based on search volume. This will not be an indicator of user interest moving forward. I would argue for many industries, it's already not an indicator now. So we've done all of that research, and now we're adding in really specific features about the product into our product details page. We have gone deep. Then what you need to do is add context. We have the content, but we want to be able to show exactly what all of this means, and we can do that through establishing relationships. So what is small? What is black? What is this brand? We link them to pages which tell about that thing, whether that is a category page or whether that is an article page, it doesn't matter. We're just showing that we have more context about this attribute of this entity. And that gives not only a better user experience, but it also helps us establish our topical authority. Maybe you're thinking, hold up. This is way too much time for me to be able to fill in a single PDP. This is not scalable. I can't do this. I never asked you to do it. You have a lot of data because you've got the RSS feed or the API from the supplier. You can have a lot of data by designing a scraper that goes out and scrapes all that information from other websites. And even if you don't have those two things, and it's your own content, well, you can still get AI to pre-fill the vast majority of the fields because we have GPTs. And you have an image. Upload all of those images into your GPT agent and tell it, go and extract all the attributes that you can see from this entity. It can tell you that the color is black. It can tell you that this brand is Mimco. It can tell you that the style is duffel bag. And then what you can do with that is use those attributes that a human quickly reads through and confirms to then construct the product description. This can also be used for user-generated content. So say you are a short-term rental site and you want the user to list their property for rent on your website. Do not hit that user with a massive form asking for all of these attributes. They are not going to fill it out. Ask the user to do one thing. Walk through their property, take a video, and tell me about the rooms that they're in, and upload that video. From that video, you can extract really nice, high-quality images. From that video, you can process the audio with AI to talk about all of the features it sees. It can see those features as well through the video images itself. You also get the EXIF data. So something like location, for example. And if I have this property's location, then I can pull on my existing database and I can add context, such as what neighborhood is it in? Is it close to a train station? Is it close to a cafe? These things that users are going to care about, and I can add that information on my product detail page automatically. You can also add context through a really smart use of similar products, or you can add context through review aggregation. Because it's this presentation and quality of data of your product detail page that determine visibility across all of Google's surfaces. But just having product pages is not going to be enough. You need to enhance your topical authority with article content as well. And Gemini has fundamentally changed the way that we need to do article content strategies. We already know when they released featured snippets, which were not powered by Gemini, by the way, that we had a significant traffic loss to our article pages because Google could directly in the search results answer the user's search intent. Well, they can do that even better with SGE. They can do that even better in conversational interfaces such as Gemini Chat. So there is no doubt there will be a loss from traditional search, particularly if you're relying on commodity content. So commodity content is the type of content that's mass-produced, it's generic, it's just frankly rather unremarkable. It's something that Google's already read that article so many times before because it requires no expertise. Some SEO content writer has produced it, or you've had an AI produce it. So now you're in a situation where your shitty AI content is trying to compete with their significantly better AI content because that's all they do is produce AI content with that model. So when you're talking about a definition of, or you're looking at FAQs or how-tos or a top or best or ideas and checklists or this versus that, there's so many reasons why Google can do that better than you can, because they've already seen that article hundreds of times before, and they are more than capable of producing it in a way that will satisfy the user. And it can satisfy the user better than you, because more often than not, we're not just trying to show content. We're burying the lead. We're requiring users to scroll through a tale as long as time in order how to learn to cook white rice. we're sitting there and we're asking the user to allow us to track them with cookies before we provide a single smidgen of value. We're asking the user to play kill the pop-up as they try to navigate through our article pages and consume our content. Guess who's not putting in all of this friction? Google. Google's saying, come and read the content. No ads, no interruptions, no bullshit about grammar, just the content that you're interested in. And yes, I understand that there is hesitations, that there are hallucinations, that people aren't confident in these interfaces today. But Google's making serious steps towards overcoming that. They allow you to cross-reference it with citations. They allow you to cross-reference it against Google search and say, this I'm 100% confident in, this not so much. And more, the more we test this, the more confidence we will get, the more Gemini will learn, and the better these results will become, to the point where they will be significantly better than what you can offer in terms of articles, because in a single flow, I can ask multiple questions and it maintains that context. So I can move from my informational intents all the way through to my transactional intents. This is really seamless. It's a lovely experience. It significantly cuts down my research time. You're sitting there like, oh God, what do I do? All of my articles, they're gone. Well, here's what you do. You stop optimizing for search. You stop waiting for a search to occur and then try to compete for attention versus generative AI, which will kick your ass. Go where Google wants to link to your articles. They actively want to link to you in Discover. They actively want to link to you in Google News. They actively want to link to you in Related Insights. So you can optimize for these placements as long as you get your head out of your keyword cage. You need to start thinking about entities. And when I think articles from an entity perspective, I can be so much more creative. I don't have to worry about getting the keyword into the H1 so the H1 says, how to write a resume. I can be like, well, I just have to have it around the topic. So why is AI rejecting your resume? Still got the entity in there. Significantly more interesting, and hopefully an article that hasn't been written 100 times before. So you need to start thinking about, how am I going to design these topical maps, and how am I going to write with uniqueness, with flair, with originality? I'm going to write in a way that AI cannot, because I am a human with an opinion and new information to contribute to the conversation. Because brands that add new information into the index will be significantly rewarded by Google. If I invest the money, and it costs Google millions, to crawl all of your websites, and I get zero value back because I already have all of that information in the Google Knowledge Graph, and I already can produce content better than yours in generative AI, why would I keep crawling you? You cost me money and you give me no value back. If I crawl you and you're providing new information, all of a sudden I as Google have value. And also, you're going to start rewarding your users. And that's going to make them loyalists. That's going to make them want to interact with you with really good engagement signals. That's going to make them love you and start following you. And when they follow you, then you're sending all of these signals back into the Googleverse. And what's going to happen is not only your articles get more play on Google Discover, but because your brand entity has been enhanced by this followership user behavior, your products are going to start showing in Google as well. And that, my friends, is a true competitive advantage, because they never see your competitors. The user never needs to search, because your brand is proactively serving what they need by being displayed front and center on Google Discover, or in Google Assistant, which is now Gemini, or on any of Gemini's other conversational interfaces. So start focusing on a deep content strategy that is entity-focused, that is authority building. That's the way to do a content strategy. And Special thanks to Late Nights and Chocolate. Without it, this presentation would not have been possible.